that Ryan Reynolds actually cannot stand his own wife, Blake Lively. When does it end? Because it seems like Blake's been a problem for a long.
Ryan Reynolds completely dismantled Blake Lively's legal case and revealed her actions to everyone watching worldwide.
I actually disbelieve her fully now.
It appears once private messages and emails between Blake and Baldoni surfaced, even Hollywood's most charismatic husband was forced to abandon the act.
He spoke to Miss Lively out of character as himself.
After 12 years and 4 children being caught off guard like this, no one is staying around for that. But that was not situation from start. Ryan Reynolds remained beside his wife Blake Lively without hesitation when she accused Justin Baldoni of harassment. Even he was pulled into the lawsuit for his support.
Late last night, Justin Baldoni's team filed an amended complaint in their lawsuit against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, the New York Times.
And not just in a supportive husband way of standing by, he made a full Hollywood power move with phone calls being made.
A lot more evidence, including text messages between Justin and Ryan. We gotta bring.
Baldoni was labeled a disturbed predator. Studios were pushed to sever connections. Ryan ensured everyone across the industry understood that crossing Blake meant professional ruin. No one challenged it. Why would they? Ryan and Blake remain Hollywood's golden couple at all.
She alleges that she's a Me Too victim there. That's absurd.
When Blake came forward, people paid attention. The media went into overdrive, and Baldoni, he was getting buried before he could even say a single word. At first, the allegations sounded like they would end his career.
One of the key allegations in her complaint against Justin Baldoni was as follows, okay, from paragraph 48 of her complaint.
In this section 48, Blake stated that while filming, Baldoni softly spoke into her ear, saying it smells so good as he moved his lips along her neck. She described an image of a man who left her uneasy, who ignored limits, who shifted a work environment into his own personal pursuit. Here, everything in the voice of Megan.
Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Ms. Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good."
And if that was not bad enough, she went even further. She accused Baldoni of intruding while she was unclothed and breastfeeding. She also added an allegation against his producing partner for showing her inappropriate material at this stage. Baldoni was not just a bad person, he was essentially being portrayed as Hollywood's next major scandal.
Accused his producing partner of showing her pornography. Then they produced in his lawsuit against her a picture of the alleged pornography, and it was a beautiful, artistic, absolutely non-pornographic shot of his business partner and his wife with their newborn baby in a bathtub after a bathtub birth.
And do you know what the most explosive proof of Ryan's direct involvement in this case was? Well, it came on July 15th, 2020, when he personally contacted Baldoni's agent at WME William Morris Endeavor and made his stance unmistakably clear. He labeled Baldoni a deranged predator and directly urged the agency to drop him.
She decided she wanted to take over and use the power of her fame and name and that of her husband, Ryan Reynolds, to bully Justin Baldoni into the fetal position. And this has been released now, according to TMZ.
And when Baldwin's agent actually had the nerve to push back and ask for proof, Ryan didn't care. He wasn't there for facts. He wasn't there to ensure Baldoni never worked again. But he didn't stop there. Inside Wayfarer Studios, where Baldoni had major influence, Ryan went straight to the top. He called a senior executive and doubled down, repeating that Baldoni was a danger and that Hollywood needed to cut ties with him immediately now.
Following through on his vow to release all his communications with Blake Lively, revealing a nearly 7-minute apology he sent her at 2 a.m. while they were working on the film. It ends with,
"This wasn't just casual Hollywood gossip. This was a full-scale career takedown happening in real time. The message was obvious. If you align with Baldoni, become an enemy of Ryan Reynolds."
I've been to a few too many how to be a feminist classes. Take a listen.
Hey, Blake. It is 2 in the morning. Hopefully this does
Then came August 6th, 2023. The premiere of It Ends With Us, the same film amid all this drama. But guess who wasn't present? Baldoni, the director of the film, was prevented from attending his own red carpet event. And guess who allegedly pushed for that? Ryan. He reportedly told insiders nobody want him there. And in Hollywood, if you're locked out of your own movie premiere, it's more than just embarrassing, it's career suicide at all times.
Baldoni routinely degraded Miss Lively by finding back-channel ways of criticizing her body and weight. Notice back-channel ways, never directly to her. I don't see anything that says he was fat-shaming her.
It sends a clear message to the entire industry that you are finished, untouchable, and effectively forced to start looking for work elsewhere in another country.
He was taping his own voicemails? Because this is, according to TMZ, coming from him or his team, not from her. I think the point of it is to show us that he was not some evil harasser. He was, he was subjugated to her and Ryan Reynolds, and clearly afraid of both of them.
Evidence that completely undermined Blake's accusations. The slow dance scene she described as uncomfortable and predatory. TMZ released the full footage, and it showed Blake laughing, joking, and even initiating physical contact. Baldoni wasn't behaving in a predatory way. He was simply doing his job.
He watched me breastfeed naked in my trailer. In context, when we saw text from her saying, "I'm breastfeeding in my trailer, come on over." And they've gone tit for tat in the, nice pun right after the.
And Blake Lively's lawsuit was not built on just one or two accusations. It was a stacked case, with each claim more explosive than the last. But the moment one collapsed, the rest began to fall like dominoes, and no claim backfired more than the breastfeeding incident.
This is what she's done throughout. She said, he came in my trailer while I was breastfeeding. Well, then he produced the text messages showing her saying, "I'm breastfeeding, come on over." She, like, time and time again, she accuses him of doing something, which then when you hear the full context is an absolute nothing.
For months, Blake insisted that Justin Baldoni had intruded on her while she was naked and breastfeeding in her private trailer. The implication was crystal clear. This wasn't just a guy who crossed professional lines. This was someone who ignored all limits, who violated basic human decency. The media ran wild with it. Hollywood took sides. Baldoni's reputation was getting torched before he even had a chance to speak. Then in December 2012, Baldoni dropped the receipts, and suddenly this horrifying violations started looking more like a badly written soap opera twist, and just like that, the entire narrative flipped again completely.
Here's yet another one. She wants us to believe this is actionable harassment, what we just witnessed there. You tell me whether that's what that looks like.
Because how does someone claim to be violated in a moment they orchestrated themselves? The messages didn't just poke holes in Blake's claims, they ripped them apart at the seams. Baldoni wasn't some creepy intruder. He was a guest she specifically invited, and now what had once been one of the most damning parts of her lawsuit became one of the most humiliating lies.
Clearly cooperated with the New York Times to leak the whole thing. Indeed, that's, Brian argues, the reason she went and filed the complaint with the Human Rights Division, so that she could then leak it to the Times, so she could start to rehabilitate her reputation, which got smeared because she turned out to be not a very nice person.
Ryan Reynolds was once one of the strongest supporting voices for Blake, but after those texts came out, something shifted. His PR team went into overdrive trying to contain the fallout, and Ryan for the first time went silent. No statements, no calls, no public attacks on Baldoni. Ryan Reynolds reportedly seemed unable to stand his own wife, Blake Lively. Was this the moment he realized he'd been misled, or was he simply processing that his wife hadn't just lied to the public, she lied to him too? And then came Blake's next desperate move, the so-called pornographic image incident.
Ryan Reynolds actually cannot stand his own wife, Blake Lively.
This time, she allegedly accused Justin Baldoni's producing partner of showing her explicit material on set. The claim was intentionally vague, but highly damaging, using words like graphic and inappropriate to paint a picture of Blake being exposed to something disturbing and unacceptable. But as with previous allegations, the opposing side pushed back, and the truth reportedly complicated the narrative rather than confirming it.
When does it end? Because it seems like Blake's been a problem for a long time.
Because when the real image in question was surfaced, it wasn't just not pornographic, it was totally innocent. It was a creative image of a pair in a bathtub keeping their baby, a raw, emotional moment from a hammeet birth. Nothing explicit, nothing sexual, just a human moment of vulnerability and beauty.
The reason why I feel like he left for Blake was because he didn't want an equal partner. Scarlett Johansson would have been that, and he wanted to feel superior.
I am fully convinced that there has to be a connection between this humor that this couple specifically coined, direct line from that to millennial women finding out via TikTok that their husbands hate.
So why would Blake allegedly interpret something so innocent in such a different way? The suggestion from critics is that she was building a legal narrative, and as the situation escalated and different accounts emerged, Ryan Reynolds' position reportedly became increasingly difficult because at that point he was no longer just defending his wife, but also standing behind claims that were being actively disputed by others involved in the situation.
She's had her shot against him, and she's severely damaged him with that New York Times piece and this complaint, which she managed to get leaked. Now she wants a complete gag order. Now he needs to be shut down to protect her. This is very unfair to poor Blake. Why should Justin be able to release snippets to the media without the full context? That's what she's.
Inside sources at WME and Wayfarer Studios started talking Ryan's tone had changed. The man who had spent months torching Baldwin's career behind closed doors was suddenly no longer making calls, no longer warning executives, no longer pushing Blake's narrative. Had he confronted Blake? Had she admitted the truth? Or was he simply realizing in real time that his marriage was built on something he could never trust again? The world is still waiting for Ryan's final move, and now it's only a matter of time. So if you don't want to miss the next twist, hit that subscribe button and keep your eyes on this space.